Hello everyone, my name is Janelle Holse. I'm so glad you could join me today for the first ever tour of a completed build on my channel. Today, we're going to be touring the castle. Now this is one build I'm extremely proud of and happy with because I put so much time and effort into it. I wanted to do more stuff like adding random weapons and doing junk decorations, but I figured it's time to move on to modded builds. Now before I continue, I'd like to say that there is an unnarrated tour in the description below. I would also like to say that this tour is split up into two separate videos, just for the sake of time. So if you like, go ahead and check that out. The only issue for the unnarrated tour is that it doesn't go in depth as to the backstory of, the castle. Speaking of which, the castle has a bit more than most settlements, mostly because I've spent so much time on it. Almost all these stories that I make will be lore friendly and will not feature anything too out of the blue. So what I'm going to give you is a sort of abbreviated version, but you can find the full detailed version in the description below. So let's get right into it. First, I will give you the story, and then I will tour the castle. In 1701, Fort Independence, originally named Castle Williams, is built, however, originally being a wood structure. In 1803, the wood structure is replaced with a more sturdy stone and brick structure, along with wood barracks built up against the northwest wall. In 1970, Fort Independence is added as a national monument to the National Register of Historic Places and was under the ownership of the government. Fast forward to 2067, the United States needs to fund the war effort against China. So some of the national monuments and places were sold to private companies. The castle was one of them. However, a contract was signed that did not allow the owners to settle in, destroy, or edit the original structure itself, only do renovations and minor additions. Sometime in September 2067, the company who owned the castle changed management. The new manager was named Mortar Pit. In 2071, after many years of ups and downs, however still a slow decline of tourism, Mortar Pit was threatened by the CEO about losing his job. Mortimer, of course, did not like this. Mortimer one night looked through the old records of the castle and found that there was a natural aquifer under the castle. However, it wasn't too large. He got in contact with the local bottling plant and made a deal with the CEO of said plant to drill for water under the castle. However, this was highly illegal and broke the contract signed in 2067. Mortimer decided to hide this as a renovation to the castle. In 2073, renovations began. However, due to the positioning of the castle and lack of proper roadway, they could not get the supplies there via vehicle. The contractor of the project decided to build a temporary dock and supply shed that would be used for bringing in supplies. Along with the dock, a couple of other structures were built. The main gate, which helped to improve security in the castle, the jail cell, which was used to house rowdy tourists who disobeyed rules, the power room, which housed two large fusion generators to power the castle, and a couple of other few miscellaneous structures were built as well. The red barracks that were built on the northwest wall were renovated using new supplies and put to use as a company break room for both the workers and the tour guides of the castle. In 2077, the Great War broke out. Since then, the renovations never got completed, and the temporary docks, water pumps, were now a permanent structure throughout the years. The northwest wall would take little to no damage at all. However, the southwest bastion, along with the west wall next to it, would take major damage. In 2287, the sole survivor finds Preston Garvey and agrees to attack the castle, taking it back from the Milers that have taken up shelter there. After the attack was over, the newfound general of the Minutemen took up residence in the left barrack home, later to be furbished to his liking. The right barrack house, however, was originally used as barracks originally. However, after the Communications and Provisioners Act of 2288, the building was later used to house representatives coming from all over the Commonwealth. By 2288, the southwest bastion and the west wall would be rebuilt. Different structures would be built as well. The mortar cannons were put to use, and a small group of Minutemen that emerged from Diamond City would build O'Reilly's Bar. By this point in time, the castle would be entirely self-sufficient, no longer having to trade for food or water. By 2289, the Brotherhood of Steel arrives in the Commonwealth. The Minutemen become technologically inferior to them. and fear a war with them would result in a loss and a disbandment of the Minutemen once more. The general sent scouts into the wasteland in search of pre-war tech. 6 power armor frames, mismatched power armor pieces, and many supplies would be brought back to help in the coming war effort against multiple factions. Within this year, the general got in contact with a group of travelers from a place called Far Harbor. Many scouts were sent up there. Around the same time, a caravan picked up a sick and dying traveler from a place called Nuka World and delivered him to the Minutemen. The atrocities told by the dying traveler angered the general, and he immediately met with his representatives to plan an invasion of Nuka World. The general at this point has a lot on his plate and needed an office to organize all his files for everything he was in charge of. Using new building techniques, an office was built for him out of concrete, as well as a mail room. The general, however, was still missing something in the castle. He wanted to commemorate the Minutemen in a certain way. The general ordered a statue to be made out of concrete and copper. By the end of July, this statue was complete, as well as the castle, and it was ready to be put to use by the Minutemen to help the Commonwealth. So that was pretty much it. As you see, this one has a bit more story than usual. I really had made this story up sort of while I was building. Most of my other settlements are not going to have that much story, but the castle has a lot of history to it. So anyway, let's get right into it. So, the first structure we see here is the main gate. However, this isn't the first structure we're going to tour. We're going to actually tour along the outside, and we're going to see the Minutemen barricade first, actually. So there's a little shack that was built up against the outside of the main gate. That is to reach the barricade back here. As you see, nothing too much. It's very scrappy, and it's mostly because it was set up in the early days of the castle, but it's no longer put to use. So it's pretty much decommissioned at this point. However, they never really took it down because they figured, well, the big pile of scrap is pretty much gonna discourage any raiders or gunners from basically sneaking up at night to the castle walls and plant explosives maybe, and cause some havoc. It doesn't go all the way around, as you notice. It's not an enclosed area, but it is just basically meant to really discourage anyone, trying to get to the castle to that wall, pretty much, of the castle. As you see, we have those little outposts in the water to pretty much see who's coming through the water. Figured maybe the water might discourage someone because it could probably get their equipment wet, and it would make the equipment sort of malfunction, or it could probably make it so the water would probably ruin the equipment, whatever the equipment may be, whether it's guns or explosives. So here is the main gate as we walk up to it. There's the main gate. Now this basically tracks anyone who comes into the castle. As you see, it's made out of concrete pre-war, so there is some wire mesh to hold any loose rubble that might fall. I didn't decorate this too much because I did feel like this would probably be more used for battlements as opposed to actual office space like you see here. So there's probably just, I wouldn't suspect there to be so much stuff in there. Here's actually one of the defenders, as you saw right there, and you'll see in the next video as to their uniforms and the weapons they carry and sort of why they're dressed like that. So here's the main office for the main gate. As you see, a little resting area there, as well as a little check-in area for your caravan to make sure you're in the right place. Here's the waiting area for the caravans. Before they're cleared to leave or to enter, they could pretty much work on any of their weapons or anything really. As you see, we're going to move around to the main docks of the castle. As you see, a lot of seating space, and we see the warehouse there as well. That fusion generator, controls all the power outside of the walls. So here's the main warehouse. This is the warehouse's power armor. As you see, it has a cage over it. It's really meant to defend anyone that's using the power armor from any heavy objects that might fall on them. I figured the Minutemen have a scavenge first, questions later policy. So as you see, they have some questionable items in there. And the reason for that policy, the scavenge first, questions later policy, would be mostly because I figured roughly anything in the wasteland can be used, whether it's not for furnishing, a house or anything, but you could also melt it down later for scrap metal, or you could use the wood for something else. Here is the fishing shack. I figured the Minutemen probably eat a lot of fish just due to their close proximity of the ocean. So I figured maybe there's a couple jobs in there that involve Minutemen fishermen that probably just fish all day and work to provide food for the castle. So that's where you turn in your fish. Or alternatively, if you don't want them to gut your fish, you could do it at those sort of counters there where you could gut your own fish. So in my playthrough, there's a Minuteman Navy, and basically the reason why I bring this up is because we're at the docks right now. And at Kingsport Lighthouse, there is a boat that is completely above water, and it seems like it was pretty much sort of untouched by the war. So I figured maybe the Minutemen found that and fixed that up just a tiny bit and used it and made, the Minutemen Navy. So here's the water processing plant and the showers. The first thing we're going to actually see is the showers. Here's the main water pump, or the main water switch for the showers. If they feel like you're spending too much time in the showers, you could turn off the water. So as you see, the showers aren't actually showers, they're sinks, and that is because probably before the war, this was a quality assurance room for an on-site inspector to make sure that the water was clean and wasn't just pumping out sludge. And I also figured the Minutemen probably take sink showers as well, just, to clear off all the grime and blood. So here we're in the, the main water processing room. As you see, there's a lot of computers in here, a couple of desks, and of course, the main switch for the water pump. So here's basically where they would sit and watch the water get pumped and make sure everything is running smoothly, that there's no problems with the machines. So we're going to go ahead and right back around. I'm going to run up the stairs, and as you see here, we have a little guard post looking out into the ocean, but I figured maybe the Minutemen move some of the resources here to a better spot where they can defend more, or where they need it more. Plus, I didn't really think, anyone would be crazy enough to attack from the ocean. So here is the first guard post we're going to see on top of the wall. As you see, this one looks over the roadway over there. So if they see some enemy forces that maybe the people or the guards in the main gate can't defeat, they'll close the gate. Or if they feel that the guards in the main gate are having too much trouble taking them down, they'll close the main gate. There's also a siren here, and that does control all the power to the main gate, so it does turn off all the lights and turn on all the lights as well. Here is the first mortar pit. Now this may be familiar because this is the first mortar pit I did a video on, and I think the only one as well. But as you see, it's a bit furbished. A lot of living equipment there. So we're going to move on to the power armor depot now. Here's the little desk area where you'd sit and track all your maybe changes that you did to your power armor, reasons for use, where did you go, all that. So as you see, there's 3 power armors, or power armor sets, and I figured maybe big veterans of the Minutemen probably use those power armor. As you see, they're sporting different colors. I figured maybe they could use a little individuality and be a bit more intimidating with for instance, like the shark head. Here is the next mortar pit. As you see, this one's run by a robot, and it's actually because I didn't have enough settlers. I reached the settler limit when I was bringing a bunch of settlers to the castle. So unfortunately, that one had to be ran by a robot, but that's okay. You see, this is the greenhouse, and there's a big main gate here, and that is meant to basically just for the output of resources that come from the greenhouse. Now this is run entirely by robots, but there is one person here that works, and that is the botanist. Now I figured the botanist maybe is working on some new techniques for basically just better growing techniques for growing food and all that. So you see he had some successful attempts and some unsuccessful attempts. Here is the next mortar pit. Same thing pretty much. As you see, the man down there is holding, he's wearing jeans and a shirt, and that's because that's his uniform. You'll actually see all the uniforms in the next video and the explanation as to why they're like that. So pay attention to the switch here, and I'm going to actually explain it up ahead. Here is the first Battlements. This is the reason why there's these tannery hides here is because I figured maybe the Minutemen rest their arms on there to sort of get a more stable shot when fighting and shooting down the window onto the land down there while defending the castle. I did say I was going to explain the switch, and that is because the switches are here because they control the power individually to the general's home and the representative's home. But I figured maybe the general and the representatives go to sleep at all different times, as well as the Minutemen, so when the main power gets shut off so everyone goes to sleep, I bet the Minutemen stays, or the general stays awake. Now, what you saw there was actually one of the leaders of the Mortar Pit, and you can distinguish him because of his cap. So, like I said, all uniforms are going to be described and explained in the next video, part 2 of the castle tour. So here's the main gym, where pretty much anyone can train. I figured maybe Minutemen who are waiting to get their new assignment come here to train as well. Up here we're going to see the next battlements. And this is the battlements that overlook the homes and buildings over there. I think there's a Mirelurk over there as well. But there's a but I figured maybe a lot of Minutemen snipers just sort of sit up here and, you know, watch over those homes over there. Here's a guard post overlooking the courtyard, just in case any sort of enemies feed into the courtyard and are able to get into the courtyard. Here is the ammo dump, and I made the ammo dump because I didn't really want any mortar crews or any guards who work on top of the walls having to go down into the courtyard, especially when there's a battle, because I figured maybe if the enemy sort of got into the courtyard and they're sort of trying to get up the stairwell, it would be kind of dangerous, you know, for the Minutemen to basically go down into the courtyard and try to restock on ammo. So there's that ammo dump there. There's also a little watchtower over there. So that was pretty much it, guys. I do hope you enjoyed that. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Be sure to watch part 2, and I hope to see you then. Have a good one.